there are stories out there, and I don't know, and I don't care, but I will tell you this as a fact. I had the idea of The Rock in my mind for about, God, bro, it was probably a couple of months. And the whole reason why I didn't go to him with it was because I was a huge fan of Don The Rock Morocco. And I did not want to be disrespectful to Don Morocco, like, in any way. But, like, this Rock thing, it stayed with me. And I'm like, I've got to pitch it. So I remember one night we were at a Monday Night Raw. We were rehearsing during the day, and it was just me and him in the back. And I said to him, I said, Rock, I want you to try something tonight. And he goes, what? I said, I want you to start referring to yourself as The Rock. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, start referring to yourself in the third person. The Rock says, The Rock thinks, The Rock did this, The Rock did this. And he kind of looked at me, and I remember him saying to me, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, bro, just try that. Just refer to yourself in the third person. And it was one of those things where he went out that night and he did it. And, like, I watched, and those days nobody knew who I was, so I could go out in the arena. So I watched, and that first night I was like, that's it. Like, I mean, I knew immediately a star was made and a star was born. The way he delivered it and the way he got it over, I just knew it was going to explode.
Was he pretty easy to work with overall?
Very easy. Very, 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 very easy. Because I'll tell you why. He was smarter than everybody else. And he would never look at a script and come back with a knee-jerk reaction. He would always look at a script, and if there was something he didn't like, he would process, okay, like, why did Vince write this? What was Vince thinking about? So then he would come to me, and it was always about presentation. And he would say, Vince, I love your script. This, that, and the other thing. Put me over, put the script over, but then he would put his spin on it. He said, but how about if we tried it this way? And I would, 99.99% of the time say, Rock, that's great. Absolutely unbelievable. Nobody knows a character better than the character. So, like, I can write a script, but you got to remember, I'm writing a script for 50 different characters. Now when I hand it to that character, now they're really looking at every I and every T, and now they're really making it them. So 9 times out of 10, when they come back to me and say, you know what, I don't think I'd say this, but I'd say this, beautiful. And that's how it was working with him. I don't remember ever having a disagreement. I don't remember ever having a fight. I know we never had an argument, but he was a piece of cake to work with.
I worked with The Rock when they first brought him in as Rocky Johnson. We worked a lot. We were paired together, and I was there to kind of help bring him along. And then they hid him away in the Nation of Domination, and then he basically was given that opportunity to find his voice, to find himself, and it worked. And it just took off from there. And then we had that little bit of that angle where we not only did the vignettes backstage where I was jealous of Mick and his relationship with The Rock, but we had matches that we worked on TV, and I think maybe a pay-per-view or something. I don't remember, but Dwayne Johnson is an awesome individual, and one, because he invests time, money, and effort in himself and works really hard. He's not just given anything. 2, he is what I talked about earlier. He's one of those guys that appreciates and thanks everybody because he understands that he's not bigger than the show, that it takes more than just him to make him a star. Never once did I ever get the impression from him or have him treat me, or did I ever see him treat anyone in any untoward manner or disrespectful fashion or as if they were less than him. And from what I've heard, he still does that to this very day. He's a genuinely good person. And, you know, I couldn't be happier for him for all the success he's had.
Would you say he's the most successful wrestler of all time as far as becoming a celebrity and making all this money?
I'd say The Rock is unquestionably the most successful crossover celebrity out of wrestling that there ever has been. Yeah. You know, Hulk Hogan would be a close, you know, would be a second, and then, you know, probably then after that, Steve Austin, and, you know, and there are going to be people who are going to do, oh no, so-and-so. Look, that guy is making at least $20 million a film. How many movies has he put out just this year?
Oh,
And how many years has he been putting movies out? He's getting paid. He's been getting paid. He has his own production company. He does produces his own projects. So I'd say he's pretty successful, and he's a worldwide brand. There's no place in this world people do not know his name.
But another thing we did that people don't know is we actually babysit Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because when The Rock and his mother wanted to go out to, you know, for like a dinner date, Rocky and them trusted us to have Dwayne stay down there. We call him Dewey. And we fed him a couple beers now and again, and he still mentions that in his day. And so he said something at the 2005 Hall of Fame with Hulkster, and he said to my wife, you know, your kid fed me beers when I was 12 and 13 years old. And I went, well, you know what? It must have did pretty good, because you're making $178 million a year. Hey, how about a kickback? But Dwayne turned out to be one of the greatest guys, and the family is another wrestling family that they brought him up the right way, and all about respect. A lot of respect goes back with the old days of wrestling. It really does, and it means a lot. And today, I think that is missed a lot, you know, in the upcoming, you know, the way things are today. Not that the wrestlers are still busting their butts, and I really appreciate it. I watch them, and I think some of the things they're doing is unbelievable. But back in the day, it was all about, you know, keeping that respect value at the level it should be. You know what I mean? Because they didn't want everybody back in the day to be a wrestler. So that's why the respect value was that. And any family, I would say, that's in there with the Maivia family, with the Hart family, even with the Grahams, I mean, the Von Erichs, I mean, my heart goes out to all of them, because that's a really rough road to be upon when you're a part of a legacy family like that. And they're all fantastic, and every one of them I ever met, my heart, I mean, totally true, honest respect for all of them.
And what about working with The Rock? What are your memories of that?
Wow, well, that dude was loaded with talent. He was a star. I mean, just being in the ring with him and being able to do those matches, and just learning from him, you know, just learning how he was, you know, able to take that charisma and just blow it out there, you know, especially watching him struggle, because I was with him when he was struggling. Changed his name to The Rock. All of a sudden, he got the attitude a little bit. He started getting the mic, started cutting promos, and all of a sudden, his character just developed. He became himself. He just started saying, you know, I'm just going to just do my thing. And just watched him, you know, develop. And I worked angles with him as he was growing. And we were both growing. We were both just like blowing up. And it was awesome. It was an awesome time.
And you also appeared on that 70s show with him. Was that fun?
Yeah, that was fun, especially to see what I look like with that big hair.
What was your favorite memory from your time in WWE?
Oh, I would just have to say, you know, traveling around, being able to see all those cities, meeting all the fans, different people, different ways of life. It was exciting. And I would have to say probably some of my favorite highlights in the ring would have to be with The Rock. Because at that time, me and him were the #1 guys, both of us on the rise. And just the matches that we had were just, I mean, it was good times.
And while you were in Hawaii, did you ever meet the young Rock?
Yes, I met the young Rock a couple of times. Of course, I wrestled, like that's my whole joke, I wrestled the Rock's grandfather, I wrestled the Rock's father, and I may get the Rock. Not a chance in hell, but I met the Rock, and the Rock is a stand-up guy. Just recently at WrestleMania, you know, I was down in bowels of the building when my wife and daughter were walking through, and they were running the Rock from one interview to another. He's like, "Hey, Hacksaw," and they're like, "Come on, Rock, we gotta go, we gotta go." He goes, "Wait, I want to go say hello to Hacksaw and his family." So that's something I'll always remember. You know, of course, my daughters were really excited to meet the Rock.
Do you think it's a pretty good thing to have him part of the business now that he's a big movie star?
Yeah, because I think The Rock really loves the business. You know, he grew up in the business. He understands the business, and I think he loves the business in his heart. So even though he's got all the money in the world, a big, huge international movie star, I still think we'll see him around wrestling quite a bit.
When Dwayne went away to go to college here, I mean, you thought it was the end of the world for his mother. That's why we moved from Tampa up to Miami, because she couldn't cut the apron strings.
Okay.
I said, "You got to let him go. He's 20 years old. He's in college." You know, and so we're all very close, you know, with my wife and her, and we all get together. We're all together last Christmas. Dwayne's ex-wife works for him, you know, and he has a daughter, and now he has another little daughter. So there was no lawyers or nothing involved, you know.
Was Dwayne always a wrestling fan?
Always, yeah. You know where he learned to talk? When the VCRs first came out, we bought him one, and we bought him a camera like you had. And he'd set up on the tripod and he'd do interviews. Hulk Hogan, Jimmy Snuka, Rocky Johnson. And he would entertain himself for hours. And he was Roddy Piper. How, you know, and he just loved it. So then he goes and plays football. Then he plays college ball. Then he goes and plays for the Calgary Stampeders. And he come back and he says, "Dad, I want to talk to you." So I go, "Uh-oh, he got somebody pregnant." And he said, "I played college ball, I played high school ball, I played pro. It's not in my blood. I don't want to play no more." I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" He said, "I want to wrestle." I said, "Okay." I said, "Your grandfather's a wrestler, I'm a wrestler. So if I'm going to train you, I'm going to train you 150%. And I was hard on him, but he never gave up. Then one day he was clowning around, and I said, "Look, if you want sympathy, go home to your mother and get it." He said, "That's where I'm going." He walked all the way home, 2 miles. And when I got home, his mother didn't want to speak to me. "What are you doing to our son? You're making him walk in the rain." I said, "Because he's clowning around. If you're going to be this, you got to take it serious." I took it serious. It's my life and my career.
Now, you started to talk about the training of your son. Was it just you training him pretty much one-on-one?
Yeah, just me. I took him down. I had a friend of mine had a karate school and a boxing school, Cisco. And he had a ring in there. It was an old ring, all banged up, beat up. But I took him down. Ron Slinkert, which I broke into business, was passed away the same day I got inducted in the Hall of Fame. He would come down and help me. And then all of a sudden I'm reading where Pat Patterson trained him, this one trained him. I've never been in the ring with him. And when he was ready, because I was with Pat for 9 years in San Francisco, I said, "You want to take a look at him?" So I went down and I worked with him, and Pat watched, and actually I made him look good. He went back to Vince and said, "You got to bring Rocky's son in." And Vince said, "When?" Pat said, "Yesterday." And they brought him in. They took him, when his first match was in Corpus Christi, Texas. And when he came back, I can't think of his name now, I'll think of it in a minute, said to him, Vader said to him, "Where you been working before?" He said, "No, this is my first match." And they couldn't believe it. Because 3 months he's telling me he was ready. And he knew all the holes. But I could take a 6-year-old kid, teach him my arm bar, and that. I had to teach him psychology. And I put psychology. And what he did, when Pat Patterson said, "What's wrong with you? You're not like your dad. You're not throwing the jabs. You're not throwing drop kicks." He looked at Pat and said, "My dad's Rocky Johnson. I'm Dwayne Johnson." And he took his own style.
So you made the call to Pat. Pat brought him in. He was Vince said to sign him, and then
Yeah, they signed him. And it was so funny, Vince said to me, "I'll have your son a millionaire within 2 years." And I said to myself, "Sure." He told me the same thing. But he got Stone Cold clicked. Within 2 years, he made over $1 million. The rest is history. And it's funny to go into the movie part here. They asked him 5 times to go on Saturday Night Live, and he wouldn't go.
right.
He wouldn't go. He wasn't said, "I'm not interested." So Vince said, "Would you finally do it for me?" Because Vince did the introduction, Saturday Night Live. You know, Vince, he wanted to get his territory open, but, you know, his head's like this. So he goes on it. He did 6 different skits, and they seen how versatile he was. They sent him to California, and he's in Guinness' record books. It's the highest paid first time actor ever when he did the Scorpion King.
Wow.
And the rest is history.
And I guess his first TV acting role was playing you.
Playing me when on that 70s show. I had to sign like 15 papers for him to use my name and everything.
What did you think of that? I guess that looking back on it, that must be quite.
Yeah, but I look back at it now, I still have the tape, you know, and Ernie Ladd was in it. And I watched it and I said, he sounds so much like me in the way he worked and everything, you know. And he wrestled the midget and he come back and said, look at that, midget bites all over me.
Now, would say his best feud that you enjoyed the most in WWE was his feud with Austin?
Yeah. And Vince will tell you to this day, they're drawing money. They're making money. But they made more money when Bret Hart, Dwayne, and Stone Cold were there. You know, so, you know, they go places now where they do 20,000, now the houses are down to 10,000. But they're not losing any money. You know, they're just not if they end up making 800, say they made 800 million for the year, but 10 years ago they were making 200 million, you know, or 500, 900 million or whatever. I mean, look at WrestleMania, that's $1 billion. It goes all over the world. You know, you want to pay $79 to watch it? Fine. I watch it because I don't have to pay for it. But being in the business, I wouldn't sit and pay $79 to watch it, you know.
Were you concerned at all when they first brought him in and the gimmick may not have been the best?
Well, what had happened was he went to Tennessee first. Nobody knew this. He went Flex Cabana. And they were paying him like $400 a week in Tennessee. But Vince already had him on contract and Vince was paying him $500 a week. So, and he left there, so now he comes to New York and he wants to be Rocky Maivia. Respect to me and respect for his grandfather. And I said, that's great, but it's not going to get over. Because people are not going to be can identify with you. So what had happened was, it didn't get over. So he came back to me and he says, what do I do? Because Vince told him to think of a new angle because they're actually, I think they were probably going to get rid of him because it wasn't getting over. I said, be yourself. I said, call yourself The Rock. And he went out there and he joined the Nation of Domination. He took over. He became a heel. But he took public speaking and that in college so he could talk. And then he come up with, well, they still call it SmackDown. You know, he was going down to SmackDown, Jabroni Hotel, and all that. And he started this feud, and it clicked. He got over just like that. And was he a great worker? No. Did he have psychology? Great psychology. He knew when to hold him. He knew when to fold him. I mean, when you could stand there over a guy and take one elbow pad and throw it and grab this way, take another one, and go like this and hit the ropes, and give him an elbow, 1, 2, 3. You know, but I got over it. I said, look at me, I got to throw 10 drop kicks to try and get over it.
Right.
But he got over it just like that. And you know, rest is history. Vince wouldn't let him go.
Were you surprised at how successful he became in the movies?
Yes, I was, because I never had a dream that he'd ever be in the movies. Because he did that skit with that 70s show, and he didn't like it. And he wouldn't go on Saturday Night Live until Vince convinced him. So when he went to Hollywood to do Scorpion King, I figured, oh well, he'll get tired of it. Now look at him, the rest is history. He's the highest paid actor in the world.
Is there any movie of his that you particularly like?
Yeah, I like the ones where he has those kids, football players, young kids that are in prison, changing their life around after they get out. Like 70% made it, the other 30% went back to doing drugs. You know, and then he done the game plan where a family can watch it. Now he's this last one he done Fast and Furious and that. It broke all world records. It did over $2 billion. But I'm not into that. 80 miles an hour and crashing up this car and shooting this guy. And he loves the game plan. He loves movies like that. But he's versatile. He can do any kind of movie.
Right.
He's just finishing one up now in Vancouver, Skyscraper. You know, but they got the motorcycles and all that stuff and all them goofy stunts. But I look at it and I go, maybe when I was his age, I'd do it too. But I wouldn't do it today.
Maybe not unless you're getting the same pay they're paying him.
Yeah, but then it'd be a little different, yeah.
And speaking of that, if you could be in one movie with your son that he's already done, which movie would it have been, and what role would you have?
I would have played the one with the kids, the football players, the football team he started. That because he worked with the kids and he worked with them one-on-one, and a lot of those kids that were in that detention center, you know, they had drug problems. They came from broken homes, so they really didn't have a chance in life. And he was his job to try and change their life around. And you know, that was based on a true story, where this guy, and they offered him the role in the movie and he wouldn't take it. And 70% was successful, from 27% up to 70. So that's a good rating, you know. Like, I've taken this kid and I've helped him and I've made something of him. Look at him now. Now he's this, or now he's a wrestler, or now he's a pro football player. Because they show you all that at the end. And they show you where this guy goes back to the gang, this one gets killed in a drive-by shooting, this one goes back and kills his stepfather. But you can't change the whole world. But I like those kind of movies where you're helping people.
And both of you guys were known for your strength and muscularity. How are you guys comparable in the gym at both of your primes? Did he ever match the lifts?
He never got up to 550. I did 555 bench at one time. And he got to 505. And I kept rubbing it in his face. Because he was bound, he was going. You know, when he played for Miami Hurricanes, he was the strongest kid on the team. He was bench pressing like 505 pounds. But he could never get to that 5. I said, you'll never be as great. I said, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. But you didn't fall on the tree. And I'm the tree. So we have that kind of relationship. We're not father and son, we're best friends. You know, I mean, there's nothing he wouldn't do for me, and he knows there's nothing I wouldn't do for him. And whatever he wants, so for sure.
Do you think he's done with the wrestling side of the business? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. He's done.
It'd be crazy to go back.
Yeah.
And I told him that. And like he said, he likes to meet the guys, talk to them, help them. But as far as to get in the ring, well, his contract he can anyway. Because the last time he wrestled Cena, in WrestleMania, he got a hernia. He had to have emergency surgery. They had to shut the set down for 3 weeks. Well, setting the set down, it cost him $200,000 a day. So look how much the movie. So they put in his contract. That's it. Now you can either say no and go back to wrestling, or you can stay in the movies. Now he has 2 movie companies. So he's doing very well.
Would you say he's the greatest star the wrestling business has ever produced?
I would say one of them, yes. I'd say he'd be in the top 3.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely.
He could definitely probably sell out any arena he
Oh,
wants.
man, was he win? He would sell it out. I mean, he went with John Cena, he beat him for the belt. They waited a whole year to come back for a return. And he gave him the belt back the same way Cena gave it to him.
Now he inducted you into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah, me and my father-in-law, yeah.
What was that moment?
That was the greatest feeling in the world. But the greatest thing in a wrestling business that ever happened to me was I had a father and son match with him in Nassau, Bahamas. Me and him against a couple of local yokels that wore masks. And so I decided to let him take the fall. But he's in the dressing room telling me what to do and what not to do and how to do it. So we get out in the ring, he starts, boom, boom, boom. 2 minutes later, his tongue's hanging out, and he comes back to tag me. I said, what are you tagging me for? You know more than me, so go on back out. And I wouldn't tag him. And, you know, then he got the message after I let him blow up where he couldn't breathe.
That was just a local company?
Yeah, it was just, it was run by a guy, I can't even remember his name, but they put on a show in Nassau. And there probably was maybe 800-900 people there. But it's a thrill when you can stand on the apron and look. I mean, how many in this business, they say there's father and sons, and we know they're not.
Right.
But I stood there and looked and said, that's my son. I'm passing the gavel to him.
And also, it's very rare to find a second-generation wrestler that will match or surpass.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Almost never happens.
Yeah, it never happened. I don't think it'll be a long time before it happens again.
You were in the Nation of Domination with The Rock, who has become probably one of the biggest movie stars of all time.
Man,
What was
maybe
he like?
president. Never
Yeah, he
know.
might be president in a couple terms. But what was he like in those days, and what do you think?
You know what? This is what I tell people about The Rock. Good dude. Good dude. Real dude. Was nothing but nice to me. Couldn't have happened to a better dude. Nice guy. Nice guy. You know, no bullshit behind him. Nice guy.
Would you ever,
Talented guy.
Would you ever have expected in those days that he would have become such a star that he was?
Vince told me and Ron Simmons when he said he was going to put him in our group that he was going to make him the biggest thing wrestling has ever seen. And that was from Vince's mouth. So the man don't lie. He just needed our help at the beginning. And the Nation really helped launch his career. I think they brought him out as Rocky Maivia or something the first time, and that people kind of shit on that. And then they put him with a bunch of black guys and got people to hate him. So it was a cool dude, man. It was really, I love the Nation. And to this day, D'Lo used to work here. And now he's got his own wrestling school and some other things, but D'Lo worked at the club for like 3 years after TNA.
Security?
Well, he was more of a floor host, you know, walking around, talking to people, sitting with people, you know, people love talking to him, you know.
Did you ever see Farouk in any of his barroom altercations?
I will say this. I was just talking to Farouk and we were telling some old stories. And I will say this, because I don't like telling on people. Ron and John are as tough as the acolytes are. And I have been in many barroom scuffles, most of the time that I started, and they are true tough guys. I swear. They're both tough son of bitches.
And you worked a lot with The Rock, who I guess a lot of people would say is the most successful wrestler of all time. What was it like being in the ring with him?
Being in the ring with The Rock was a lot of fun. It was like another night off. Let's face it, Rock's not the greatest wrestler in the world. When I say it's a night off working with The Rock, it's because he does most of the work, and most of his work is stick work. And so to get in there with Rock, it wasn't like he's a really great wrestler. He knows very basic moves, but he knows how to do those things well. And so it was always a night off working with The Rock. And it was an honor to work with him. It was a pleasure to work with him. And that guy could have a good match with pretty much anybody. And it was an honor working with The Rock.
How did you find him behind the scenes?
What you see with Rock on TV is basically him amplified 100 times. Rock's always been a super, super nice guy, very, very professional, probably one of the most professional guys that I've ever seen in the locker room, and a go-getter. The guy is nonstop. He's constantly working. And that's really one of the main ingredients to success is you don't stop moving. You keep your goals focused, and every decision you make all day long throughout life should be decisions made that will help you obtain your ultimate goal. And Rock was one of the guys that did that day in and day out all day long. He kept moving. He kept making decisions every day, all day long, even little decisions, in ways that would propel him towards his goals. And, that's something I think a lot of people can learn from.
Wait, what do you think about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, possibly running for president in the future?
I think he should leave it alone. He got enough going for him. He got a good reputation. And then running for president, all they're going to do is just destroy a good person. He's a very, very good person. And I think that for his sake, the world is too vicious now. And they would destroy that kid. He's a nice man. And politics is not no place for nice people.
And to close this off, I see you still have the guns there in your Batman shirt. You were known as the Black Batman in the past.
Black Superman.
Black Superman. Yeah, so what's with the Batman shirt?
Well, my daughter bought this for me.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter bought me the shirt, so I wore it. The daughter gave it to me.
So can we see the double bicep?
You're very close with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you were, and bought you a truck several years ago as a gift. Could you tell us that story?
Yeah. Every year I go up there to ask for autograph. From what I do now, I'm working for this gentleman, David Morris, since I left WWF, and he have a foundation. So every time, I go up there, just asking his mother to get me and I'll go up and pick up the autograph signing, So one time that year, I went up to pick it up, and she said, well, Dwayne wants to see you, since you're coming in, and he's in town. So I said, okay. We waited there, and then, all of a sudden he showed up, and just three of us, And then, he told me, you work in a dealership, Tom? I said, yeah. Come on, take a look at this. We went out, there's the truck. He opened up and he said, what do you think? I said, the best thing for now, all this truck is good, that it's big at the back also, that it's comfortable, and, he walked around, and turned around and he said, well, it's yours. Me and his mother, we both stood there and like, what? Did we hit this right?
Drive quick. That's a very nice gift.
Yes.
Dwayne's father, Rocky, passed away last month.
Yeah.
I understand you were also very close with him. Do you have any memories to share with us about Rocky?
Yes. Rocky was the one who reached out from the other side of in the dressing room. First time I met him, of course, he already married Duata and they had Dwayne already. But that was the first time, me coming from Japan, and he just turned out and he said, Chief, that he called. And I look around, and he walked towards me. And, of course, I got up, he said, Rocky Johnson, Soul Man, Rocky Johnson. Introduced myself, he said, yeah, I married, Atta, the Chief Peter Maivier's daughter. That was it. They took me in, and I really, really appreciate that, because I was just a wild kid, really, at the time, 17, I think, or 18. Didn't know much about America and trying to make a living in the same time, And they took me in, like a little brother for both of them, And Atta, of course, didn't have a brother. So, I was the little one. and that was the whole thing there. We become family, and since then, and we're always,
What are your memories of training The Rock?
The Rock was always a cool guy. He was a smart ass, which is great, but he was a funny smart ass. He's not just a dick smart ass. He was a funny guy. And you knew The Rock had talent. He had the look. He had that charisma. He had that it factor. So, man, again, he's another guy. You knew he was going to be a big star, but you weren't sure how big. To even imagine that it could be as big as he is today, not just in the United States, but all over the world, is amazing. And the last time I talked to him was maybe 5 years ago now, I guess. And he was still the same guy. And just a very good, genuine person. That's the kind of guy he always was. So training with him was a pleasure. It was really, really cool.
And later, I guess you started The Rock when he was wrestling in this area?
Well, we had a deal with the WWE. And so he was here as Flex Cabana, some silly name. And I don't think he became The Rock until he went back to Vince.
Does any memories or stories stand out about The Rock from your time?
No, he, see, The Rock's mother is Hawaiian. And so I think he wanted to do the barefoot and Flex Cabana. And because he was a WWE wrestler even when he was there, we did whatever they wanted him portrayed as. And they finally saw that Flex Cabana wasn't going to be box office, and The Rock was. I think Rock was greatly influenced during his time at Memphis with Brian James, Road Dogg, and the different. Because Road Dogg would get the microphone in the ring and do that little spiel for the millions and for the thousands of attendants and the millions watching. And I think that was a real big influence on Dwayne.
Do you think Dwayne is the most successful wrestler financially of all time due to what he's doing?
I don't think there's any question. Well, if you add in movies and everything else, see, when you do this, you can't take dollar amounts. Gorgeous George may, when you take the dollars in the 50s that Gorgeous George drew and made, it may very well exceed what The Rock or Stone Cold made in $90,000 and $2,000.
Whose idea was the juice gimmick?
I think got to. Everything is I'm grateful. I think I think him.
Really? And did you ever get any feedback from The Rock about it?
Oh no, he liked it. He was. I got a story that I've been saying in different videos, but I got a story that he was in a. I was going to Miami to have a connection, and he was in the plane. So he was waiting for me outside the plane for honestly 20 minutes, and I make a lot of time because I saw him when I wake up, and I saw him. He was in front of me, and I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to see him because I was doing his promo. So I took a long time, and when I went out, finally, he stopped me. He was waiting for me. And now we have a chat, and he liked the gimmick, actually. So that was amazing. He teach me a lesson that he was very, very professional on the way to say it. It's we're in an entertainment business. So if it is good, just keep doing it, go for it. He liked it, so that was amazing.
This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com, and I'm with the lovely Atta Johnson, who is the actual mother of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and she's been in the wrestling business all your life because your mother was a promoter, correct?
My mother and my father were both. My father was a wrestler also, and then he retired, and they both decided to promote wrestling in Hawaii. And my dad passed away while he was doing that. My mother continued. Yeah, that's what they did. We've been in the wrestling business for way over 50 years. So.
And you married a wrestler, a guy that we recently did a career interview with, Rocky Johnson. You're no longer together, but what was that like going out with him? He's a WWE Hall of Famer, very successful.
Well, what was it like going out with him? He was also my father's tag team partner, so it was it was fun, should I say? Yes, certainly, yeah.
Did your fathers have any issue with you dating a wrestler?
He did, because that was his tag team partner, not mine.
Okay. I see. And of course your son is probably, without question, the most successful wrestler of all time. Were you concerned at all when he started to get into the wrestling business? Because Rocky said that you didn't want him in the business.
At first, well, he was a football player. He was going to University of Miami, and he got to play to become a Hurricane, and very proud of that. Then he decided he wanted to wrestle. I just wasn't sure about him getting into wrestling. I knew he would be a natural, because he grew up with the wrestling holds and going to wrestling. He was sitting at the ringside at the Cow Palace in San Francisco at 6 months old. So that's how long he watched wrestling. And of course came to love it.
And that was a rough building, and you took The Rock.
The what?
The Cow Palace. I heard that was a pretty wild building.
It was, yeah. It was a lot of fun. A lot of great wrestling. And that's when my dad first started wrestling, when he came to the United States at the Cow Palace for a promoter named Roy Shires. Yeah.
And you were saying that you actually miss watching your son wrestle.
I miss him in the ring. I've been watching him all these years, and I think he's really great at what he did. I'd love to see him come back one more time and lay the smack down on John Cena. I totally enjoyed their matches and love to see it again. But Dwayne loves what he's doing now, and he misses this business as well, because this was his life. Yes.
Do you have a favorite match of his?
I would say his battles with Stone Cold Steve Austin were the best. They had me at the edge of my seat. Millions of other people too.
And what about your favorite movie that he's done?
Favorite movie? Well, obviously I love all his movies. I would say Gridiron Gang, because it was very emotional, it's very real. But the most favorite movie of all is coming up, Hobbs and Shaw. He happens to be Simone in it.
Wow. And did you ever give him any advice over the years, because you've been around the business all your life, how to get over and so forth?
No, I couldn't tell him how to get over. That was his own work with WWE. He learned a lot and was inspired at WWE. I could tell that he was going to have a great career. I only said to him that the fact that they were booing him when he first started, I said, just be patient. It'll be fine, And that was tough for him at first, but then he learned to enjoy it. And when he started to enjoy it, and he started trash talking, it just, it kind of changed things. Yeah, it was awesome.
Do you still see him a lot? Do you live in the same town?
Yeah, we all live in Florida. Thank God for transportation, planes and stuff. Yeah, he gets home quite a bit, but not for long. He's very busy. Usually we go to him wherever he's at. That's where we go.
Does he still like your cooking the best, better than all these fancy chefs that we see on his various videos?
Does he like my cooking the best? No. No. Why do you laugh?
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, you can smell what he's cooking, right?
Yes.
No, he loves the chef foods. My cooking is old-fashioned cooking, frying and all of that. Chefs cooking healthy, good meals, because he's very big on health,
Well, I know you said you never gave your son any advice for the ring, but what advice would you give in general to wrestlers who want to become stars from all your years in the business and seeing successful people like your son?
I guess I would say pay attention to your fans. Pay attention to how they react and work with that. If they're not paying any attention and they're yelling really, goofy things, it means you need to do your job better. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I know you're a busy lady today. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. Any final thoughts for the fans?
For the fans,
you're gonna break my hand.
I'm sorry.
She has a strong grip.
For the fans, I would say I love it that you're fans. I am the biggest wrestling fan, so I love going to wrestling. Keep on going to wrestling and supporting wrestling, and I love saying hi to all the fans.
Great. Well, thanks for saying hi to ours, and have a good rest of your time here. Now, you also had some skits with The Rock, and you worked with him a little bit. What was that like?
Well, that was incredible. I remember we got to the building in San Diego on that Monday morning, and Sly Sylvain Grenier was friends with Pat Patterson, so he would get like, kind of what was going on. Sly comes around to me, he goes, "Oh my God, you're not gonna believe, they got this great skit worked out for you, but they're not sure if they can get the person that they want to get. So it's either going to be The Rock or it's going to be Rhino." I love Rhino, but I'm like, it's kind of getting my hopes up, So all day long they're like, "We don't know if he's going to make it because he's in LA shooting a movie, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, it's not going to happen. There's no way. That's no way. And then he showed up, man. And we went through our lines like all day long. I think I was on 6 segments on that Raw. A couple backstage in the ring with The Rock. And I couldn't, I had one line in the whole damn thing. What did he say? It doesn't matter what your name is or whatever I said. And he, working on it, I missed it. Working on it, I missed it. Working on it. In the ring, live, on TV, The Rock's got the people in the palm of his hand. It was electric. I can't describe to you the feeling just being like in the middle of the ring, but he's just got those people right there, and he says something, and they pop, and he's just doing his little jive, walking past, and he goes, "Your line's next," and he hits it and just fed it right to me. I mean, it was like such a professional, like carried me. I had one line, and I couldn't even remember.
Wow. Would you consider him one of the greatest of all time for sure?
Absolutely. Absolutely. South Dakota is the Mount Rushmore state. So we often ask people, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? And The Rock definitely would be on my Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
Okay, so a lot of people know your brother, Rocky Johnson, and your nephew, I guess.
Yes.
The Rock.
Absolutely.
You want to tell me a bit about your wrestling career as Ricky Johnson?
My wrestling career started in 1978, and I had my first match in Hamilton, Ontario. And then from there I went and teamed up with my brother in Hawaii, and we were Polynesian Pacific Tag Team Champions, and it's a long story, as all stories are, so I won't bore you with all the details. My nephew decided, after he graduated from the University of Miami, they wanted to be a football player. He went to play for the Calgary Stampeders up here in Canada. That didn't work out too well, and then one day he called me and he said, "Unc, you have an extra pair of wrestling boots?" And this is the shoe. And I said, "Yeah, man, I do." I said, "Why?" He said, "I want to wrestle." And I sent him the boots. I guess he put them on, they fit. You know the rest.
Oh, so you were one of the people he talked to when he was getting into the business?
I didn't train him, but I talked to him, absolutely. My brother, Pat Patterson, and a bunch of guys down in Tampa, Florida, trained him. And Pat was instrumental. Pat Patterson was instrumental in him actually becoming a star, because Pat seen the look. He had that look. He obviously, when you can talk, it's a major thing in this industry when you're able to talk. And he was able to do that well, and he had the look, and he learned how to wrestle, and progressed from there, and then it went into some other things, his movies and stuff that he's doing now, so it's pretty cool.
You knew he was an athlete, obviously, but did you expect him to do as well as he has in life at this point?
Absolutely. I knew it when he was 4 or 5 years old, when we were living in Connecticut, in Hammond, Connecticut, when my brother was working for the WWF, the old WWF back then, excuse me, with the Wild Samoans and Paul Orndorff and Hulk and all them guys. And Dwayne was doing promos when he was like 4 years old. And I said to his mom, I said, "What's he doing?" And she said, "He's doing promos." And I said, "He's going to be something. Like, this is unreal. He's like 4 or 5 years old. I mean, nobody does that at 4 or 5 years old." He did it, and the proof is in the pudding now. So.
Do you have any stories you like to tell about Dwayne that people might not know otherwise?
Yeah. Actually, I can tell you one that sticks out of my mind. When we were living in Tampa, Florida, we bought him a little, his mom bought him a little poodle. And I think he was about 4 years old then. And the poodle got outside somehow and met up with another poodle, or with another dog. And Dewey come running in the house, and he was, I think, like I said, 4 or 5 years old. He come running in the house, and he said, "Mom," he said, "Tex," the dog, or poodle's name was Tex. He said, "Tex is stuck to another dog." and I guess they were doing what dogs do. So.
And you wrestled in this Toronto area a lot. How popular was wrestling in Toronto during its heyday here?
Wrestling was very popular. Toronto was one of the hubs of wrestling in its heyday. Jack Tunney and Frank Tunney, and then Vince came in with the WWE and all. Prior to that, Jimmy Crockett came in with NWA, and Toronto was popping. Maple Leaf Gardens was sold out every 2 weeks, so it was good times there, and all the guys worked hard, and a really good bunch of guys, and I appreciated getting the opportunity to work with them.
So you wrestled for WWE in a few matches? And
just a few matches. I worked mostly for NWA, but mostly independently. When I went to Arabia and Japan, I went independently. I wasn't working for a company.
What was the highlight of your pro wrestling career?
When me and my brother, that's a very easy question. When me and my brother, we wrestled in front of, I think it was 52,000 people in Aloha Stadium in Honolulu, Hawaii in 1985. And that was a supercar. We had guys from the WWE, WWF, NWA, AWA, independent guys from Japan with Inoki and all them guys. And it was a supercar. And that, for me, that's got to be the highlight of my career.
And do you still keep in contact with your nephew today?
Yes, absolutely. He's busy. We're not bosom buddies anymore because obviously he's busy. But we talk probably once a week, I guess, and just to catch up and say, hey, what's up?
And what's your favorite movie that he's done?
The Game Plan. That's with a little girl, because I have a bunch of little nieces and my own daughters and granddaughters and stuff, and it's important to me. He does. I like, the action movies are pretty cool that he does, but the family-friendly movies are more important because all the children can watch those, so that's important.
And you were the trainer of your son.
I trained Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right?
Now, what made him go into pro wrestling?
Because it was in his blood. His grandfather was a wrestler. I was a wrestler, and he played football, but he said, "My love is wrestling." I said, "Okay, I'll train you."
Did you always know he was going to be a star in wrestling, or were you kind of hesitant?
No, there was no question in my mind, because even when he played college and came home on the weekends from the University of Miami, I always went down to the gym with him, and we always went on the mat.
So you were friends with Pat Patterson at that time?
Pat Patterson is a good friend of mine, and he still is right to this day.
Okay, and you actually were teaming with The Rock when he first came in, right? You were using.
Yes, I've got one tape that I would give you $10 million for. It was me and him, and father and son tag team match.
And one last question.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie that he's done?
I can't name them because there's about 5 or 6 of them. Really, I like The Rundown. I thought that was a great movie.
And are you ever going to make the transition into a movie?
No.